Well, here's the mount. That is to say, the receiver hitch receiver. And let's see how I made this and customized it and installed it. All right, well, I've decided I'm going to put a trailer hitch on the back of the bus here. So what I did is I measured the bumper mount on the frame side to side, which was about 40 inches. And so I figured I need a bar that side to side would reach about 40 inches. And then, you know, this is meant for a different type of vehicle, so this wouldn't fit as is, but you know, this is about 39 inches. It goes about to the middle of the bumper mounts when I look in here. So what I'm going to do, and I got some new bolts here, so that can go through where the bumper mount goes, but then go all the way through my new hitch mount, which is going to be look like this. I'm going to get this 2-inch receiver right under here, and then this bar is going to fit back behind here. So I realized I have to slightly bend this, which I had bent out because of my vintage speed exhaust, but now with the Python I can probably bend that 3/4 of an inch back under. And then I'm going to cut these off here because that won't fit under there. And then I'm going to basically put these mounting things like this. But then what has to happen is there has to be a bend in this. It actually has to go like this. There has to be a bend in this so that it follows that bumper mount. And then I'll bolt 2 bolts like this through where the bumpers mount. And then that will give me my hitch here. I haven't bought any of the hitch like balls or any fittings here for this yet because I wasn't 100% sure I'm going to be able to make this work. But you know, the bumper sits right over top of this, and then there's actually a hole in the underside of the bumper here, right there. And I figured probably not a bad idea to just have a little thing that just can bolt straight up into the bumper so that it gets a little bit more stability. This thing's pretty heavy. I think it's heavier duty than I would really need on this bus. I'm not going to tow anything too extreme, but what I do want to do, I'm considering getting this convertible Beetle for this motor here, which is the 1968cc motor, which I'm getting ready. And I want to get a convertible Beetle that I'm going to put that in. And in order to go pick up the convertible Beetle, I have a candidate that I'm thinking of picking up, but I need a tow bar to be able to go get it. So that's why I'm doing this. This cost me 130 bucks for the hitch, 100 bucks of weld steel here, and then and those bolts, that was all 100 bucks, so $237. And we're gonna see, I'm gonna grind, you know, cut this off, grind it down, see. All right, well, first step I did is I took this out. I got these things on and they're adjustable here. And so I can make this actually go to the outside of the frame. And then I'm gonna make this setup go here and cut off the top of that. I gotta get the bumper off first. There's a hole in the bottom of the bumper, and so what I've done now is I welded this plate here with a big fat bolt in it, and this is going to be welded right on the top of this. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to go like this or if it's going to go like this. You know, I have a little adjustability in terms of if I'm going to put the bolt kind of at the rear or at the front. I have to see how it fits the bumper once I take the bumper off here. So I'm going to take the bumper off and I'm going to kind of fit it on here and see how it fits front to back. Then I'm going to weld this guy in place, and I can actually then affix this thing to the bumper and then I'll see how all of these things work with that bumper mount, because what I want to do is I want to have this steel pipe just it does one zig and one zag to follow along the path of the bumper mount. And so I have to make sure that this all fits inside of that little groove. And then I'm going to put holes in here, which is then going to allow these longer bumper mount bolts to go through. And that'll mount both the bumper and this receiver to the frame of the bus. Okay, so I've cut these down here. So these are contoured here to fit right on this contour. Same with this one, contour to fit right here. And those brackets are going to go on the inside of that. But first, I have this, which I have made to fit right into this hole here. So that just centers the receiver. So I'm going to go ahead and well, let's see if I can. All right, well, let's take a look at that. I am not the best welder, but this is what it looks like. So I'm going to clean that up in terms of just going all around that, and just I set the volts a little higher. What's the setting on this? I set it a little higher in terms of the voltage, so I put it on C just to get a little bit more penetration, because this is really thick steel. So, you know, hopefully that did the trick. I'm going to clean it up now. All right, so I cleaned that up. You know, it's hard to get in back here, but I cleaned that up as best I could. This is, I think, really solidly on top of that hitch, and that receiver is going to go right up under the bumper, and it's going to bolt down with that thing. So I cleaned it up, and I took a little file, and I tried to smear that out a little bit, and then I took the wire brush and I tried to get that out. And now what I have is some flame-proof black, which I'm just gonna again, this isn't gloss like the other stuff, but that'll just protect it, at least from rusting. It's still hot. I can see the paint kind of boiling a little bit, but hey, flame proof, so. All right, well, I can consider that a decent job. I'll get a little paint on the threads here, but I don't think that's gonna matter. I'm just gonna basically bolt right through that onto here. So, all right, well, I'll show you the progress. This guy is welded on there, and what I did is I cut these things off here, made a little shape there, and then I've welded in now these pieces here. Now they have to come down the contour in here and have the bolt holes, as well as over here. But I'll show you what I did on the welding. This is the outside edge, and I had to cut a little off of this tube, and I welded the inside here as far as I could reach, just to completion. And then I welded, see if you can see, all along here, and kind of ground it down all along here, and I ground it down. I'm gonna sand it down and put some primer on it. You can see I did the same over here. So this is welded into place and all along here. So that should be fairly strong. Let's see. You can see here it's hard to get there to sand that part of it. So you can see all the ugliness of the welds under there. But again, that'll be the bottom side. And I'll probably hit it with the wire brush and just put a little bit of paint on it. But you know, as far as the actual structural support here, again, I put my welder on 3, setting 3 for the voltage, and it seemed to be penetrating the big bar. And the thing is, so you have the thin metal, you have the thick metal, and what it was doing is it was just to the point where it was kind of blasting the thin metal. I could blow a hole through it, but not quite. And then you assume that then, this is my inexperience, but you assume that then it's penetrating the thick metal while almost blasting the thin metal. And I think that should be good. Feels good anyway. So, okay. Okay, so I'm taking the this frame for the trailer hitch, and what I've got here now, I've cut these angled. It's almost 45 degrees. It has to. I haven't welded this in. I have to test the fit on the. So I've got this one. I've got this one. This is twisting a little bit when you look at it, but it's not too bad. And once I weld that in, as long as this part fits, it has to fit on this right here. So I'm going to test fit that right now. Okay, so I took the these iron bars here, or the steel bars, and I went ahead and shaped them to fit this perfectly, and I have this now clamped into place with the gap on the outside in case I want to put a angle iron in there or something if I don't feel like it's quite strong enough. But I think it's probably strong enough. I might put something down through here. I'm not going to weld the bumper to this. This is just going to have 2 holes here. So this comes across like this, and then you can see here I over gapped it here because I wasn't sure of the angle. but I'm going to fill that in, welding it. First I'm going to spot weld it right here so that I get the right shape. All right, just spot welding. That gap is big, so here's this one. I just wanted to weld those angles into place, and sometimes, you know, the gap is pretty big, so I'm like actually building up where the gap is, and that's just a case of not doing the cut very well. But to build up this gap actually quite a bit here. All right, well, see, you can see how I've built up this gap, and you know, I could have put another piece of metal in there, but I'm really gonna weld it solid. All right. Alright, so I have this now. Boy, I tell you, I ground this down. The reason why the welding looks this way is because, man, I just over weld it. And I said I put it on pretty hot so that I knew that it would be basically penetrating the really thick steel, but then it blows away the thin steel. So it's this balance of, like, you know, partially blowing that away so that you penetrate the thicker steel. But now, you know, I have this thing shaped right, fits in here perfectly. So my last two steps here before I can mount this are, first off, looking at this side, I see that I've widened these holes here a little bit so that it can fit my longer bolt, and I've drawn where that needs to be drilled. So I'm going to go ahead and drill that on both places. And this bolt here, it's a little long, but you know, whatever. If I cut it, I might mess up the thread, so I'll just leave it. But it requires, if you look here, it requires like some spacing, so some kind of washer or something. And I had been using 3 washers like this, 3 or 4 washers like this to just space it out. But I could also use something like this, 2 of those or something like that, and that would also space it out. Probably I'll use washers, but I probably need 4. And then it basically looks like this. There's the receiver. Now the receiver is only about, I think, 12 or 13 inches off the ground, and I think it's supposed to be 17. So what I probably have to do is get the ball mount that comes up a little bit here and sits a little higher. Okay, let me drill the holes, and then I'm going to also hit it with some etch primer and black gloss just on the places that I welded. Okay, so I've got the holes drilled in here, so on the sides, those match up with what's on the bumper mounts. And then I painted this black, you can see up here. I just repainted a little bit, places I had scratched being black. And this thing is pretty solid. Those holes are maybe a little bigger than I wanted, that might weaken it. But since I don't know exactly where the bolts go, they need a little wiggle room. So that's gonna go up here on the bumper. I'm gonna go ahead and mount it on the bumper before I put the bumper on. Okay, let's take a look at this. I have this mounted in here. So I have probably 5 washers in there. That's just to get the separation correct. Then I have here where at 40 inches, this connects to a welded on kind of a bar. It takes a little jog just like the bumper mount. Comes down like this. If you look, the holes match up. So that should mount on there. The thickness of the bumper mount, metal wise, is not quite as, well, it's similar to that of this this bar. So I had wanted to actually get a thicker bar here, but I think that'll do because it's going to have the support of both of these, given that this mount is also connected to the bumper. And so you can see how this follows the groove of this. I didn't replace this. I've seen some mounts where they replace this and completely put a really solid bumper mount in. So this has a separate thing that lies inside the bumper mount. And then I got a longer bolt, which will go through, all the way through, with a big fat washer lie on top of these holes. So, let's see, and from this side, you know, that's what this is gonna look like. So I'm just gonna let this paint dry, and then I had thought about putting one kind of a bolt through here and through there, but I don't think it's necessary. I think this is really solid. This has this thing coming all the way down to here. So really, it's sort of like if here to here is weak, that would be the point of failure. But I think the combo of the bumper mount and this should be strong enough. Again, the hitch itself is a class 3/4, so it's really heavy duty. It's more of just how strong is the frame, and but this combo I think will be good. Okay, final installation. So here's what we got. Here's the 2-inch receiver. So if you look at the height, it's just, so it is higher up than the hideaway tailpipe. It's about the same height as the muffler. And so even though it's a little low, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I tightened this down here, and you can see the, let's see, I can show the underside. If I get this light, the light's not working anymore. Let me get a light real quick. Okay, got a light. So now I can see this is how it looks. It comes up exactly where the bumper mount is, and then I have 2 big bolts that come through from the frame there and there. And then if I look on the other side, let's look on the other side. The other side was complicated because of the hideaway muffler, but it looks like this. I had to go in the other way with the bolts because I couldn't come down. So, but that I think is pretty solid. I don't have any attachments for this yet, but I will go and get something. So it appears as though, you know, it's definitely the top of this. You're supposed to have your ball at 17 inches. The top of this one is 11. So, you know, in theory, I should come up 4 to 5 inches off of that for the ball. So we'll see what they make. I don't want to come too far back, but if I get something that comes up and sits at about 17 inches, or 16 inches even would be good. That would come up to just above where the bumper height is. All right, well, that is my hitch receiver. One final look at this mount. So I also just hit those washers with a little bit of black. And so overall, it's there, and it's you know, kind of nicely tucked away, and doesn't look that you know, it just it doesn't look that bad. Like, you don't see like an enormous bar in the back or anything. It's just a little receiver that's right under the bumper there, so that I'm happy with